This is a story about MGM fire of 1980. I'm an American citizen and support the United States of America.
It was 8 a.m. that Friday morning, November 21st, 1980, as I opened Martin Stern Jr.'s office in Beverly Hills, California like any other Friday. I turned the coffee maker and the office machines on and sat in the front office of this top floor architectural headquarters and drank my cup. The phones would come off the answering service downstairs and go directly to the 8-bank switchboards at 3 desks and the rest of the office at 8:15 a.m. Waiting for the staff to arrive, the lights became lit on all the phones, asking for Martin Stern Jr., the architect. 5 to 10 minutes of this, I decided to place these calls on hold as they rang. Some employees came in saying the building is on fire. I looked at them like they were out of their minds. I thought, I don't smell smoke, and there was nothing ringing except these phones. Where? I replied. And they said, MGM Grand Hotel in Las Vegas. The building. The building. The building. With the top layer of the building over the deli, it created a complete vacuum. Was this a failure governed and fixed by the code? Fire breaks held for the moment in the design area, even with their flaws. The draft was still too great. Thanks to Kirk Kerkorian and Martin Stern Jr., the MGM Grand of 1973 had in fact been overcoded for safety. Even at the source of the fire, that area had multiple drawings of changes after the building was completed. Drawings after the completion of the 1973 construction and in-house changes thereafter, which I recovered in misplaced files. Those drawings went into the MGM Grand Fire Room. This I controlled for Martin Stern Jr. Changes to the shape and space of the deli area were submitted to the architecture back then at that time. These drawings were dated and submitted by the office to have fire approval stamps and again approved in that order. I could frankly remember the fire code markings, radius circles, and numbers of suppressing units in their correct location. Now this was made safe because of the special concern to this area. We see most of this 30-year-old tragedy in testimony, documentation, documentaries, design graphics, and films. The 24-hour deli was now not only 24 hours. Martin Stern Jr., designer of Ship restaurant chain, where greasy fires were not that uncommon. In his more than 30 years of being an architect, and at that time, Martin Stern Jr. had the knowledge of what fire could do. So extra drawings were produced by the architect back then with a letter. Yes, with a letter that I located days after the fire in a misplaced file, told of the concern for fire safety by Martin Stern Jr. As soon as I gave it to the office manager in 1980, a member of Martin Stern's family, it was on the news that night. In fact, out of this special room, I would set up the tables in Martin Stern's front conference office for consultants, contractors, associates, legal officials, fire officials, and lawyers. The saddest face was that of the electrical engineers and their consultants. Now, in a flash, their office of decades were gone. It came down to 2 or 3 sheets of drawings that explained the fire. Yes, the deli area is where it began. Was the architect at fault 30 years ago? No. Was Kirk Kerkorian at fault, building his dream? No. Was the fire department of Las Vegas at fault? No. It was a government-controlled agency to fault. By placing a new idea for the eye in the sky. Without it, no gambling license, and without it, that MGM Grand Hotel of 1973 would not have a casino. The area above to look at tables, people, and down on the casino floor was never intended to be coded, only access for surveillance. Martin Stern Jr. and Kirk Kerkorian did indeed make the best and biggest hotel in the world. That worked well. Unlike many of his multi-billionaire clients, Martin Stern Jr. had Playboy in Atlantic City lose their gambling license due to surveillance measure of the casino. As we know, Playboy Hotel Atlantic City was sold. If the space was not there, then the actual supply would not have drafted the fire so quickly. Forget the smoke, stop the fire, the other follows. Stories of wallpaper, plastic, electrical tubing cause more damage is a little overkill. Anything that was not made to burn will give off oxygen-consuming gas as it moves to the path of least resistance. 30 years ago, the elevators were death traps in all buildings in a fire like this one. We changed that. Now, this is why MGM Grand Hotel fire of 1980 saved so many lives, and the help of firefighters, courageous personnel, pilots, and etc. If you look at this building day after day with the architect supporting his cause on how the building did not fall in an inferno like this 30 plus years ago, you know the truth. Now MGM Hotel, Grand Hotel, of more than 3 decades ago was indeed designed correct. That's my conclusion. Failure of devices override systems warning for hours in advance of electrical malfunction. Regardless, it happened. And on paper, it should not even come close to happening, as Martin Stern Jr. and I verified shop orders with sign orders and part numbers over and over again. After the fire was created, the tragedy was history 30 plus years ago. The building is safe now by design and safer by device and their placement. Remember, the architect and the owner had a huge task to keep people safe with slot machines row after row. Back then, the danger of fire sprinklers would in fact been a great hazard. Heat from slot machines would set off fire sprinklers over customers soon as there was a decision to have fire suppressing units in easy access. A fire department across the street, alarms that did work, was the fire safety program for MGM Grand Hotel of 1980. And with a full building, most of the time it is hard to ignore the warnings that went off earlier. In fact, it was days of a burning question, vibrating, arcing, electrical. From the special room, the causes were compromised that was drawn on paper. Mylar electrical connections add up to shop drawings and located what and where and what feed should break. This building had a lot of electrical feeds to machines all over the master plan, in which Martin Stern Jr. still is not credited with Kirk Kerkorian for multiple switchable casino floors. Still, it was the eye in the sky that did the most damage to the casino. The architect and the owner had a dilemma with the see-through panels of plexiglass, highly flammable. Imagine toy model that children play with. It is lightweight and easy to clean. And the most important, it looks good. One drawback in the 1980 toys, they were never intended to burn. Black, heavy, smoke clinging to walls, vents, lungs, deadly. Anywhere around this 1980 third largest hotel fire in history and second for the United States to this day. Another conference room setup with consultants and their samples of what was on that ceiling. The samples were very nice pieces of plastic, not deadly at all. Even the clear ones were of high quality. Where did I get these samples? My files. My files, in which Martin Stern instructed me to gather all MGM Grand Hotel of 1973 to 1980 in a file, where 1.7 to 2% of this building's 5,000 residents had lost their lives to this tragedy. 85 is the number that day. Kirk Kerkorian made the best move in 1981 with Martin Stern remodeling the safest building in the world. It was sold to Bally later because MGM's cost to keep the building. MGM Grand Hotel in 1973 was the first of 3 buildings the owner wanted to build. MGM Grand Hotel Atlantic City was to be built at the time of the MGM Grand Hotel fire of 1980. So that was a sad blow to people on the East Coast looking for MGM Hotel. Kirk Kerkorian made it bigger and better MGM in Las Vegas using some of Martin Stern Jr.'s knowledge and know-how. Also, with the eye in the sky as safe as technology can offer, to this day, Las Vegas Boulevard, the Strip, and Flamingo Row, this structure is still the safest building in the world when you talk about fire. I left Martin Stern in 1983 after he personally offered to double my salary. I was the youngest member of the firm and had made Employee of the Year for the second year in a row. In my 20s and drained from overtime, I decided to leave knowing that every document in the firm was in order, and his staff down from 40 people to only 10, including Martin Stern. And his future plans was to move his office. One man at one time approached me and explained, one man could not possibly do all that documentation. I looked around and Martin Stern had gone home early.